Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Course Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got an unexpectedly powerful commander for you with an overpowered build. That's right, this deck can win as early as turn 3 in a very, very gross way. Well, in a lot of gross ways. It's a very, very gross deck. So with all that said, let's jump into it with this brand new exciting build. And you probably saw in the thumbnail that it was actually a different commander in the thumbnail. But this is a partner commander. We're going to start with the lesser partner first. Let's start with Tormod the Desecrator, a fantastic commander in its own right, and a partner commander at that, and one that does work with our commander. But here we go. A 4/2 zombie wizard for 3 and a black that says whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create tap 2/2 black zombie creature token. And of course that is partner, so you can have 2 commanders as long as they have partner. And yeah, this is a great card. It actually does combo with our commander and with another card. We'll talk about that here in a bit, but first let's talk about the star of the show. Let's talk about Dargo the Shipwrecker. Yeah, this unexpected common commander is, well, pretty overpowered when in the right build. A 7/5 giant pirate for 6 and a red, but you're never gonna pay that. As this will cost to cast this spell, you may sacrifice any number of artifacts and or creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each permanent sacrifice this way, and 2 less to cast for each other artifact or creature you've sacrificed this turn. Trample partner. So, what is really important about this commander is that it is one of the very few commanders out there that can pretty much evade commander tax and do so in a very, very strange way. You see, if you sacrifice 3 other creatures or artifacts, again, it says for each other artifact or creature you sacrifice this turn, it's going to get reduced by 2. So you sacrifice 3 creatures or artifacts, reduce this cost down, it's just going to cost a single red mana. Then let's say you sacrifice this. Now if you go to recast your commander from the command zone, of course after it hits your graveyard and leaves your graveyard, right? Because you can choose to have it do that, essentially, so then you can get Tormod's trigger as well. Regardless, once you're recasting your command zone, it says, well, there have been 4 other creatures sacrificed, so now I just cost a single red mana again. Because technically, the new iteration of Dargo is a new iteration, so it's counting itself being sacrificed. It's counting its previous self being sacrificed, I guess we could say. So essentially, if we can keep looping this, getting it out, sacrificing it, getting it out, sacrificing it, we can just keep paying a single red mana. And of course, there's a way to do this infinitely, and we'll get to that right after I say, hey, did you know this is a very budget-friendly deck, even though it's an overpowered build? The entire budget for this deck, according to Moxfield, is just $23.38. Now, keep in mind that cost does not include the cost of basic lands, which you might be able to get from friends, might be able to get from your LGS, or just get from cheap on the internet. Or, this doesn't also include the cost of shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. That being said, you might be able to save even more by buying this deck on TCG Player and utilizing heavily played and damaged cards, which of course need a home too. So make sure that you're optimizing it when you get it in your cart. And if you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck. Let's link in the description below. Now, with all that said, let's unravel this mystery and talk about, well, the golden pig of this deck. In tactic number 1, we're going to be talking about the golden pig, the number 1 card out of our 99. And the golden pig for this deck is Tormod. Tormod is a crazy cool card, and one that goes infinite with our commander quite easily. A 4/3 snow creature slug, because that's the thing, that costs 4 and a red. That you can give haste until end of turn by paying a snowman, but we do not care about that. What we do care about is sacrifice a creature at red to your mana pool. A crazy good sacrifice outlet, and again, once we're set up very easily, well, we get to go infinite with our commander because, like I mentioned earlier, by sacrificing, say, 3 creatures and then sacrificing our commander, once we've cast our commander, we can then utilize that mana that we're getting with Tormod to recast our commander. Because again, our commander sacrificing, or being sacrificed essentially, reduces its future commander tax every single time. So again, if we're casting our commander the first time or the 100th time, it's going to cost the exact same amount, a single red mana, which of course Thermopod gives us by sacrificing our commander. And of course, in combination with our other commander with Tormod in play, well, you also get infinite 2/2 zombies that come into play tap. You can also sacrifice for infinite red mana as well. Now, when I do say infinite, yes, rules lawyers out there, technically it's not infinite. You have to pick a number. Yes. Let's say 1,000,000 zombies and 1,000,000 red mana. There you go. Okay, plenty of ways to win from there. And of course, Tormod, we can just win with essentially with those zombies, if we can get around to our next turn and attack with them. But of course, there's ways to win right away as well, but we'll get to those here in a little bit after we move on to tactic number 2, which I'm calling What a Dork. And of course, in this tactic, well, we're going to talk about some dorks like Hedron Crawler, a 0/1 construct for 2 that can tap for a colorless. And there you go. That's basically it. Yeah, it's a mana dork. And yeah, the more and more creatures we have in play, the more and more opportunities we have to sacrifice them to ensure that we can get our commander's tax down, or cost down. You know what I mean? Moving on, we've got Ironmere. Exact same thing, but taps for a red. Then we've got Ledimere. Exact same thing, but it taps for a black. Then we've got Mannequin. Sorry, I ruined the whole mirror theme right there. Taps for a colorless as well. Again, does not really matter. All that matters, it's low to the ground, it's efficient, it taps for mana, and also, hey, if we sacrifice it with, Thermopod or something else, we can get to that 3 amount. Moving on, we've got Mere Convert. Toxic 1, cool. But also tap, pay 2 life, add 1 mana of any color, so perfect mana fixing with this. And speaking of that, Ornithopter Paradise also can tap for 1 mana of any color without the downside of losing life, though it's not really that big of a downside anyways. And then finally, 1 more mirror at 3 mana, basically Warden Power Stone on a creature. Tap for 2 with Palladium Mirror, so there you go. Again, we are running mana dorks, but we can go even quicker with, well, let's go to tactic number 3. What a chump. Yeah, these chumps are going to help us out as well. First up, we've got Blood Pet, a very simple 1/1 for 1, but we can sacrifice it for a black mana. So again, this gives us mana as well as adds to our sacrifice creature count. Again, our commander is taking notes like, yes, you've done 1, done 2, done 3, perfect. Now I am almost free. Basically free. Next up, we've got Goldhound, a 1/1 with first strike and menace treasure dog, because that's the thing, that can tap and be sacrificed for 1 mana of any color, basically a treasure. Again, our commander sees that and says, thank you for your sacrifice. Next up, Impulsive Pilferer cannot sacrifice itself. That being said, we've got other ways, plenty of other ways to sacrifice it. When it dies, we get a treasure token, and we can encore it back out for even more treasure tokens. So essentially, with this single creature, we actually can meet that requirement on its own just with that encore. Next up, we've got Shambling Ghast. Basically, when it dies, choose 1. We can either get a treasure, or we can give a creature -1/-1. Again, the treasure is probably what we're going to go for. Extra mana is never a bad thing. Next up, Script Prospector. Again, another 1-drop for 1 that has sacrifice a goblin, add a red mana. And guess what? Script Prospector is a goblin. There you go. Next up, Assault Roll. Tap, we can sacrifice this and add black to our mana pool for just 2 mana. That's pretty fantastic. Speaking of which, Generator Savant. Tap, sacrifice it, add colors. If this mana is found on a creature, gains haste. We don't really care about that haste. What we do care about is, well, sacrificing this to, add to that count and get extra mana for the turn. Moving on, Reckless Barbarian, sacrifice it, add red to your mana pool. So yet another fantastic way to sacrifice a creature and get a lot of juicy mana. A little bit more in the cost department. We've got Basalt Sliver for 2 and a black, so 3 mana. That's okay. Sacrifice it or any other sliver, probably this, for black. Then we've got Blood Vessel, the exact same thing. Sacrifice it for black. And Chaos Elemental, you're seeing a pattern here. Sacrifice it for red. Finally, there's Overeager Apprentice. Sacrifice in a different way. 1/2 human minion, discard a card, sacrifice it, add black to your mana pool. So again, a good mana boost and also a way to, well, sacrifice a creature. Now, you might be thinking, okay, all this is nice and good, but we need to get Thermopod. Yes, we do. We definitely do. So now let's move on to tactic number 4, which I'm calling Tutor Time. First up, we've got one that can help us out in a couple of different ways with Mausoleum Secrets. Now, I will note this one cannot get us Thermopod. It can go get us something else and get us Thermopod, or get us one of our other key pieces that we might want to use to win right away. It's a fantastic card, though. Instant for 1 and a black. Undergrowth, search your library for a black card with your very mana cost, less than equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Reveal up in your hand, then shelf your library. We've got plenty of creatures that actually want to be sacrificed that we can sacrifice. We're going to fill our graveyard pretty quickly when we want to, and we can go tutor for basically any black card that we need with this, including another tutor if we need to. Next up, Logamos, Hand of Hatred, another way to tutor in a different way, and another way to add to our sacrifice count. Beginning of combat of your turn, you get a 2/1 elemental creature token with trample and haste. Sacrifice begin next end step. We can obviously have ways to sacrifice before that. And then also tap to try for a card put in your hand, then shuffle, activate only 5 more creatures die this turn. We can very easily get to that requirement, so this can just be a great tutor for us. Next up, very straight up tutor, Diabolic Tutor. Go get any card into your hand. Then we've got Dimir House card. This one also cannot get Thermopod, but it can get us another tutor that can, or another piece that can be key to just win a game right away. Transmute away for 1 black, so discard it, go get anything that costs 4. Again, plenty of key pieces that cost 4 for us. Or it's got sacrifice a creature, regenerate it. Again, there are certain creatures that actually want to be sacrificed. It's a great sacrifice outlet for them. And there's some other weird, wonkier ways that we can actually go infinite with our commander with this instead of Thermopod if we need to. And we'll get to some of those weird ways here in a little bit. Next up, speaking of transmute, though, we've got Brain Spoil. This one does work. Hey, transmute it away, go get Thermopod, because Thermopod and this each cost 5. Then we've got Coveted Prize. We don't really care about that ally stuff or party stuff or whatever it is. What we do care about is, hey, go get a card into your hand. Final Party's going to say card number hand or card number graveyard as well. Regardless, hey, go get Thermopod into your hand. Next up, we've got Illicit Ship, and this can help us out in multiple ways. Casually 3, so we can sacrifice a creature with power 3 or greater to copy this. Yeah, plenty of great instances for that with this deck. And also, yeah, go get a card, and if you did that, go get 2. If you sacrifice that creature, go get 2 cards. Why not set yourself up to win? Finally, there's Rasguest Right. Go get any card from your library in your hand, and you can also cycle it away if you don't need that as well for just a single black mana. Next up, though, let's move on to tech number 5 and talk about ways to win right away. Again, we talked about ways that we can win with Tormod, but hey, you know what? If we just want to win right away on the spot, let's win with Zulaport Cutthroat, a 1/1 human rogue ally for 1 black that says, whenever another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain 1 life. So we can drain our opponents in absolutely no time with this. Again, I mean, we don't even need to really go infinite sometimes to just win because, hey, we're going to be sacrificing a lot of creatures. We can drain opponents down. But if we are going infinite, yeah, get your commander out, sacrifice. Get your commander out, sacrifice. Drain your opponent every single time. Your opponent is going to, or your opponents are going to be gone. Speaking of which, Agent of the Iron Throne. Ledger Champion background. Create a creature you own have. Whenever an artifact creature controls is graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life. Yet another great way to drain your opponents, this time on an enchantment. Moving on in a different way. Our opponent is going to be very upset to learn that our commander is a pirate, because Forerunner of the Coalition can help us out with that. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you consider life for a pirate, reveal it, shift for life, put that on top of it. Sure, why not? Whenever another pirate enters the battlefield under control, each opponent loses 1 life. Again, our commander is a pirate, so hey, it's going to come into play. Drain, come into play, drain, come into play, drain. Your opponents are going to be gone. Next up, Hissing Iguana. Hey, whenever a creature dies, you may have it deal 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. Again, if we're doing this infinite, or 80, 100, 120, whatever it is times, hey, there you go. Your opponents are going to get taken out, and they're planeswalkers too if you really want to. Next up, Kara Bloodsucker. Good thing our commander is pretty beefy. Whenever a creature you control a toughness 4 or greater dies, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Again, our commander has 5 toughness, so that is more than 4. And there you go. We're going to drain our opponents even quicker with this one. Moving on, Spiteful Prankster. If it's your turn, it gets first strike. Don't really care about that. Whenever a creature dies, Spiteful Prankster does 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. That is the important part, kind of like Hissing Iguana as well. Next up, Woody Roastmaster. Burn all your opponents at once. Burninate them all to the ground. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, Woody Roastmaster deals 1 damage to each opponent. Again, we're going to have a lot of creatures enter the battlefield, especially our commander, many, many times, infinite times even. Then we've got Defiler of Instinct. This one is a very, very weird one that actually, again, can technically kind of go infinite with a weird setup. This will cost to cast a red permanent spells. You may pay 2 life. Spells cost red less cast for each life you paid this way. Effect reduces the only amount of red mana you pay. Whenever you cast a red permanent spell, Defiler of Instinct deals 1 damage to any target. So, with that regular combo with Thermopod, that already just works to win right away. Again, whenever we're casting a red permanent spell, our commander is a red permanent spell, we can ping anything for 1. So ping down all the creatures, ping down planeswalkers, ping down battles even, but mostly, yeah, ping your opponent's faces. But yeah, again, that weird way of actually being able to reduce the cost of that red. We can utilize that with a sacrifice out like Dimir Houseguard as well, and then maybe also with a life gain thing as well. Yep, there's ways to win outside of having Thermopod, but they're more convoluted. Moving on, we've got Falkenrath Noble. Whenever it or another creature dies, target player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Yet another great way to take advantage of creatures dying. Then we've got Outpost Siege. How about our creatures leaving the battlefield, not even dying? Whenever it enters the battlefield, choose cons or dragons. Let's choose dragons. Why not? Whenever a creature control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to any target. Yeah, that's fantastic. Hey, any target including our opponent's faces. I was going to say commander's faces. Opponents, commander's faces. That too. Then we've got Vindictive Vampire. Again, another creature you control dies. Deals 1 damage to your opponent. You gain 1 life. Yet another good way to pad our life total earlier. And also a way to win. And then, of course, speaking of winning, Sir Conrad the Grim. This cares about creatures going here, there, and anywhere when it comes to the graveyard. And yeah, basically, our commander is going to be pinging our opponents quite a bit with that, because when it hits the graveyard and when it leaves the graveyard, it's going to be pinging them down. And finally, in this tactic, we got Warstorm Surge. Speaking of pinging down, whenever a creature in its battlefield under control deals damage to its power to any target, this can be impactful earlier in the game when we have any of our creatures enter the battlefield. After that, hey, when we're going in with our commander, that's 7 damage every single time. Yeah, it really doesn't matter if it's 1 or 7, though. Our opponents are going to be in trouble, and they're going to be taken out in absolutely no time. But we can also make them sweat just a little bit. So let's move on now to tactic number 6. Wait for it. And of course, like our Tormod victory, we've got other ways to win, like, Grape Shot. So again, we're casting our commander infinite amount of times, and our opponent's like, you're spinning your wheels, you're doing nothing, ha 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 ha, you don't have a way to win right away. Sure, you might be making infinite zombies maybe even, but those can't attack me, and I will take you out before then, or I will wipe your board, and then we'll have nothing. And then we're like, Grape Shot. Yeah, they're gone. So Grape Shot is a sorcery for 1 into red. Grape Shot deals 1 damage to a target, and it's got Storm. So when you cast a spell, copy for each spell you cast before this turn, choose targets for the copy. So basically, you cast your commander, say 500,000 times, infinite amount of times, basically. Yeah, your opponent might be like, okay, well, I'm safe anyways. Yeah, you got those creatures on the board, but nope, 2 mana, they're gone. Unless they've got like a Fluster Swarm or whatever, or Storm or whatever, unless they have a way to counter every single one of your Grape Shots, which they're not going to, they're gone. They lose. Moving on, Runaway Steamkin, another way to generate infinite mana, and another way to kind of go infinite in a very strange way, you know, kind of like the Mirror Harvestguard plus this. Basically, whenever you cast a red spell, if it had fewer than 3 counters on it, you get a counter on it. You can remove 3 counters from it to add red, red, red. So again, a convoluted way to get infinite mana in a different way. So people might think they're safe without Thermopod, but they're not quite safe without Thermopod. Next up, Anax Hardened in the Forge. Hey, you like creature tokens? You like making them? Yeah, let's make even more. Whenever it or other non-token creature controlled dies, you get a 1/1 red satyr creature token, or if it, has, power 4 or greater, there we go, create 2 of those tokens instead. They also can't block. Who cares about that? Again, we're going to be sacrificing creatures earlier on in the game. It's good to kind of replace those, of course, and then we can, sacrifice even more, or again, just having an infinite army of satyrs. Why not? Why not have an infinite army of satyrs? Sure, we can't block, but we can swing away with them. Moving on, Desecrated Tomb, basically a second copy of Tormod. And one that makes flyers instead of 2/2 zombies. Whenever one or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create 2 1/1 black bat creature with flying. Again, another way to fill the board with creatures. Another way to do that quite nicely. And then we've got, finally, Tendrils of Agony, another great Storm card. Sorcery for 2 black black. Target player loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Storm. So yet again, like Grape Shot, your opponent might think they're okay. They're like, oh, thank goodness I'm fine. They're just casting their commander infinite amount of times and just, spinning their wheels. And then we're like, Tendrils of Agony, you're gone. Bye-bye. So yeah, this is yet another great way to finish out the game. Now, when it comes to getting all these great cards, well, we're going to need some ways to do that. So let's talk about tactic number 7, Dig Down. I already talked about some great tutors, but we, of course, have other great ways to draw a lot of cards and dig down into our deck. Corrupted Conviction is a great one to do so. Instant. It just costs cast a spell, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards. For just a single mana, again, we've got creatures that actually want to be sacrificed. Draw some cards when doing so. Next up, Village Rites. The OG does the exact same thing. Then we've got Shadows of the Past. Again, there's going to be a lot of creatures dying, including a lot of our own, including our commander, infinite amount of times as well. Whenever a creature dies, scry 1. Can also drain with this too at a certain point. But yeah, scrying 1. Hey, when you're not going infinite, again, sacrifice creatures, dig down into your deck. Not card advantage, but it is fantastic card selection. Get the right card on top of your library that you need to set yourself up. Maybe that's Thermopod. Then draw into it with something else. And if we are going infinite, yeah, just get to the exact card that you need because your commander is going to be dying an infinite amount of times and just get the right one on top of your library. Moving on, Sign in Blood. Very simple, very effective. Draw 2, lose 2. Usually going to target ourselves. Then there's Grim Haruspex, a great card in this deck. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, draw a card. So yeah, earlier on in the game, again, when we're sacrificing creatures or getting ourselves set up for our commander, there you go. Dig down your deck, draw a lot of cards. And when our commander is being sacrificed, go infinite, draw basically your entire library. Now, I will mention, obviously, you could mill yourself out and lose basically with this. Or not mill yourself, but, dig down your deck a bit too far. But yeah, you've got free sacrifice outlets, including Thermopod. So yeah, sacrifice this before that happens. Moving on. Magus of the Wheel, a great way to dig down into our deck. Pay 1 in a red, tap, sacrifice it. Each player discards their hand and draw 7 cards. Yeah, again, sacrificing creatures helps us out in a lot of situations. And of course, hey, a nice additional benefit to dig further down. Then we've got Read the Bones. Very simple, very effective. Scry 2, draw 2, lose 2. What's not to love about that? Garna, Bloodfist of Keld. Yet another way that we can actually win with this commander. Whenever another creature you control dies, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, Garna deals 1 damage to each opponent. So basically, hey, if we want to win, let's not be attacking with those creatures. Let's just, hey, you know what? Sacrifice our commander again and again and again. We win. If we actually want to draw, maybe attack with some creatures that can be sacrificed so that we can sacrifice another way. And then draw cards with that to dig down. Finally, Unexpected Windfall is a great one as well. Discard 1 card, draw 2, make 2 treasure tokens. Yeah, a great way to essentially set ourselves up again. Keep in mind, our commander does care about treasures as well because it cares about artifacts. There you go, a great card too. Now, how are we actually going to ensure that this combo works? Let's move on to tactic number 8, stick around. And first up, we've got, well, Armor of Shadows. So, Armor of Shadows is a fantastic card because, well, Thermopod, even though we don't care about our commander dying, we care about Thermopod dying. Until on turn, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible for a single black mana. Yeah, that's fantastic to protect our key piece. Next up, Professor's Warning. Target creature gains indestructible on a turn, again, for it's a single black mana. Or we can get a counter creature if we really want to. Sure, but most of the time, hey, single black mana, indestructibility, again, for Thermopod, or again, if our opponent's trying to take out another one of our key pieces, like, you know, say Zulport Cutthroat's in play, protect it with this. At 2 mana, we also have Oblivion's Hunger. Target creature you control gains indestructible on turn. Draw a card if it had a counter on it. Sure, if it had a counter on it, nice. Draw a card. If not, indestructibility is what we really care about. So we're also running Without Weakness. Indestructibility for 2 mana, or we can cycle away for 2 if we don't need that. Then there's Victimize. Sacrifice 1 creature, get 2 back from our graveyard. Again, there are creatures that want to be sacrificed, so do so. Get Thermopod back or something else if we need to as well. And then finally, there's Dread Return. Bring any creature back from our graveyard to the battlefield, or flash this back by sacrificing 3 creatures. This can be a great way to just initiate things for our commander again. Our commander cares about creatures being sacrificed. Sacrifice those 3 creatures with this. Bring something else back. Maybe that's even Thermopod. Get it back out into play and win from there. Now that we've talked about every single one of our fantastic non-land cards in this deck, though, let's quickly talk about some great lands in tactic number 9. Great lands! So first up, we've got Round to the Consoles. Can tap for a colorless. We can pay 5 tap, sacrifice it, make 2 Thopters. Again, getting creatures on the board can be crucial to ensure that we can sacrifice the number of creatures that we need for our commander. So we're also running Giru Encampment. Pay 1 and a red, get 2 encampment, becomes a 2/1 red creature of turn. With first strike, that again, it's just basically a creature land. We can turn into a creature. That's all we care about. Keep a fantastic one, a fantastic token generator. Pay 1 and a red, tap it, make a 0/1 kobold. Again, we don't really care what that creature is, we just care that we can sacrifice it. So we're also running Mishra's Factory. Pay 1, make it into a creature. Cool, sacrifice it then. Pay 2, Mishra's Foundry. Make it into a creature. Awesome, sacrifice it then. Or we can pay 6 and tap and sacrifice Spawning Bed, but we're getting a pretty big benefit from that. Make 3, yeah, you heard me, 3 Eldrazi Signs that we can sacrifice for a colorless each. So again, set ourselves up perfectly for our commander. We also have Spawning Pool again. We can turn into a creature land by paying 1 and a black. It can regenerate, but we really care just about, you know, making it into a creature land so we can sacrifice it. Or Springjack Pasture, pay 4, tap, make a 0/1 goat, which of course we can also sacrifice for mana with this as well. That being said, again, just having a lot of backup ways to make creatures can really help us out with a commander like this. And yeah, that's the episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. This is a very, very, very surprising commander that can just be pretty gross, pretty incredibly gross with the deck that you build around it. So yeah, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. If you're interested in this deck, make sure you check that out and yeah, consider picking it up. Now with all that said, well, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.